Now starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Abhishek Chaudhary, and I'm part of Digital Services with CII. Please confirm with a yes if I am audible to you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Vignesh, part of the CII MSME team. Thank you for joining in. Abhishek, yes, you were loud and clear. I hope my voice is also loud and clear.
Thank you. Yes.
Dear all, we'll be starting soon in a couple of minutes time. Please stay tuned and please queue in any of your questions on the question and window box on your right. Thank you so much. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll start the session now. Mr. Narasimhan, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Hello, everybody.
Right. I'll just take a minute to just introduce you and start the session.
Sure.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, may I extend a warm welcome to all the members of CII, especially the council members of the National MSME Council and the members of CII and also the non-members. This webinars and online master classes are a very popular initiative of CII. Until date, we have done over thousands of online sessions since its launch in 2009. More than 1 lakh members have participated in sessions like these and have given a good feedback. CII understands the need of organizing an online session of this sort on remote working, especially amidst the COVID-19 spread and the nationwide, rather a worldwide lockdown that we are seeing. We are thankful for tremendous response. Over 70 SME members have already joined the session. Today's session is a part of an initiative called CII Tech Saksham for MSMEs, which is a project we set up for MSMEs to become digitally competitive, become tech-enabled, to know the tools of upgrading the units with latest technologies, know the know-how of technology deployment, and much more. CII Tech Saksham has partnered with various technology solution providers, and we're looking as Tally as one of the partners as well. We welcome them on board. Mr. Arvind has also joined from Tally. He's the Associate Vice President who will be helping us for any questions or so. Now may I, on behalf of all the audience, welcome CA Narasimhan Elangovan. He is a futurist, a GRC professional, a keynote speaker. He is an international speaker on IS, assurance, data analytics, cybersecurity, forensic audit, data privacy laws, and emerging technologies. Now may I put a note to all the participants who have joined that this is a webinar which is a one-way communication from CII and the faculty. However, participants are free to queue in their queries on the questions or the chat window on the right of your screen at any time during the presentation of Mr. Narasimhan. And we could take up these questions, during the question and answer session, if that's okay, Mr. Narasimhan, during the end of your presentation.
Sure, we could do that.
Yeah, and now may I, on behalf of all the participants, take this session, give it over to Mr. Narasimhan. Mr. Narasimhan, I'll be just making you the presenter. If you could give me a second, yeah.
Please do.
Yeah, you're the presenter now. Yeah, your screen is also visible. Thank you so much. The screen is very well visible. Yes, we can see you on the screen as well.
Okay. Am I audible?
Absolutely. Yes, you're audible.
Wonderful. A very good morning to all of you present here and attending this webinar. Thank you, CII, for hosting this much needed topic on regulatory update as well as on the technology angle of the remote working. So today we all understand that this has unfortunately become the order of the day, at least for the next couple of weeks. And it is necessary for all of us to survive. Businesses will have to move on to a limited extent, respecting the lockdown guidelines. But there are a lot of other commitments as a business which we'll have to take care. So the session is going to focus primarily on two areas which I want to spend some time. First is, what are the various regulatory measures which every department separately has come up, or rather the government of India has come together in meeting this COVID-19 challenge. And the second thing is, how can I enable work from home using simple technologies? And we also are going to discuss on how Tally using Tally, how we can work from home. Because many of them think that accounting and bookkeeping can work only when you have a live environment and things like that. Well, I do not agree that way. There is definitely hundreds of options, and I'll also give you a few tips and strategies also towards the end on what you can do typically on a work from home perspective. So to move a little further, I'm Narasimhan Ilangon, practicing chartered accountant, CA by qualification, but I specialize in technology because technology has been my passion. And I've been doing assisting a whole lot of companies in this digital transformation, and I take I'm very happy to share the screen or share my thoughts with you on this particular platform. Okay, so the session agenda is going to be pretty simple. What I'm going to cover is, first I'll speak about various statutory reliefs which is given by the Government of India. There's income tax, GST, MCA, RBI. There is this 3-month moratorium which I think everybody is talking about, correct? It's been making a buzz in the market. So we'll also speak about the 3-month moratorium, and let me also clarify a few FAQs, based on 3-month moratorium. Many of them have got a few questions. We'll speak about that. And one very interesting thing which I'll speak about is COVID-19 credit. In other words, loans which are available today at an affordable price, at a lower cost, because for many MSMEs due to this COVID-19 crisis. So that's one major chunk which I'll be covering. The next chunk which I'll be speaking about is what are the strategies which you can consider. Because all of us are doing work from home. How do I strategize my business? What is it that I have to look into from a business angle? That's the second thing. And a few other things are technology tools. How we can use Tally on remote, which I made a mention. How we can use Tally for business reporting and MIS, and a few cyber security protection tips. Because today we are seeing a lot of unfortunate events taking place with the name of COVID-19. Some mails are being sent saying that these are official statistics, and you click on it, accidentally some malware is getting downloaded. Okay, so first let me cover the statutory relief, and I'm trying to make it very, very simple without using too many jargons and this thing. From a layman perspective, let me first cover the income tax. The sum and substance of most of the income tax regulations is just one thing, that all the dates have been extended to June 30th. So I'm sure you would have received some intimation every month from your auditor or your tax consultant or your finance team, or for the matter your chartered accountant, that every month there are some due dates. You need to pay TDS, you need to pay income tax, you need to do some filing, etc., etc. So general rule is all of them they've given a June 30th extension, and let's spend a few minutes on analyzing each of this. The first thing, the income tax return, the due date for filing that was for financial year 18-19 was March 31st. That has been extended to June 30th. The original or revised return, which is also called as belated return. Next is the linking of Aadhaar and PAN, that has also been extended. We understand that there are some practical difficulties in linking it. So, one could probably take up that now, or, even the time period is there until June 30th. One very important thing which many of us do in the month of March is from our personal investment standpoint, we put in money into PPF, FDs, etc., etc. All of these, I repeat, all of these, the due dates have stood or stand extended to June 30th. Meaning, even if I make an investment in PPF, LIC, NSC, Mediclaim, donation, up to June 30th, I can claim it for the financial year 19-20. Please keep in mind, financial year has not been extended. The financial year continues to end on March 31st. However, from an income tax compliance angle only, I repeat, from an income tax compliance angle only, all the things which had to be done before March 31st, they've given a 3-month period considering the COVID-19 situation. Now comes an interesting question. What if I made an investment? I've already completed my quota of investment, 1.5 lakh or whatever is the amount, within the March 31st due date. If I make an investment of 1 lakh rupees, would it be considered for previous year or would it be considered for this year? There is no clear guidance from the regulatory. So probably let us just wait for a few more days for that. But generally, in principle, what I understand is, even if I make after April 1st, it would be counted for the next year only. This relief is given for those who want to claim the benefit for the previous period. And of course, you cannot claim the same amount as a benefit for 2 years. Please take care of that. Next is on the capital gains. There are certain investment options, we have to complete before March 31st, like investing in a house, property, etc. All of those stand extended until June 30th. Next, commencement of, if you're a business which is running under SEZ, which is basically a special economic zone, and commencement due date has to be before March 31st. Again, there they've given an extension. One very important thing for TDS payment. Generally, you're aware that March month TDS, whatever is due, we paid by April 7th. And if there are any accruals or outstanding or provisions which you make on the TDS, sometimes you paid by April 30th. These are the due dates. Those due dates continue to be the same. However, should you have, or should you choose to pay it by June 30th, in such a scenario, my dear friends, the interest rate earlier was a little expensive. It was almost about 1.5% per month. Now it has been reduced to 9% per annum. That's 0.75% per month. So that is one thing which they have done. And this applies for advance tax, TDS, TCS, equalization levy, STT and CTT. Please keep in mind, any due which is between March 20th to June 29th, this will also include your advance tax which you have to pay for financial year 2021. That is the year which has just started day before yesterday. The first installment has to be paid by June 15th. Even that can be paid by June 30th. Only a 0.75% interest would be applicable for deferred payment. I hope I made it very clear on that. Next, this is a very interesting scheme which it's called as Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. It is basically a dispute resolution scheme where it was told that the due date was March 31st and you have to pay 10% of the disputed money before March 31st. Now the same has been relaxed and they have said that by June 30th you can make the payment. Okay, so this is only for the dispute resolution mechanism. Now income taxes on one angle. The other area which affects, or which impacts most of us from a day-to-day perspective is the GST. So let's see from a GST angle what are the due dates which have stood extended to June 30th. First, all returns which have to be filed which are due in the month of March, April and May. I repeat, which are due in the month of March, April and May, which means February return is due in March, March return is due in April, April return is due in May. May return is due in June 20th. However, they have not spoken what about that. But having said that, as we speak now, March, April, May, all of these due dates have been extended. Second, any appeal, refund applications, etc. Those of you doing export, you have to file what is called letter of undertaking under the GST law. All of these stand extended. This is applicable even under the case of central excise, customs and service tax. Even though central excise and service tax has been subsumed now, there are some cases or some people who still fall under the central excise, and there are some disputes which were there in the earlier regime. All of these, the due date stands extended to June 30th. Similar to the Sabka Vishwas, similar to the dispute resolution mechanism which came up in indirect taxes, direct taxes, we also have one in the indirect taxes which is called as Sabka Vishwas legal dispute scheme. That also stands extended to June 30th. Okay, one very big question which most of us have is, are my GST filing due dates, the GST 3B due dates, is it being extended? Now here they have come one step ahead for SME specifically. For SME specifically, they have come up and they have told those who are having aggregate turnover less than 5 crore, for those people, the due dates by default stand, extended to June 30th. For the rest of them, the due dates are June 30th. However, you may have to pay a interest liability. I repeat, you may have to pay an interest liability, and that is at a reduced rate of 9%. So I repeat, the gist is, if your turnover is less than 5 crore, you have an option to extend. If your turnover is not less than, if it's less than 5 crore, you do that. If it is more than 5 crore, what do? You have an option. Should you wish to extend it until June 30th, you will have to pay at a reduced rate of 9%. Just give me a minute. I think it's a small difficulty here.
Meanwhile, Mr. Narasimhan is fixing out something. I'll request all the participants to note down your questions and post them on the question chat window box anytime during his PPT. We can take this up during the end of the presentation. Thank you.
All right. I hope my screen is visible now.
Right. Yes, Mr. Narasimhan. It's on GST extension.
Yeah, thanks. It looks like there's some technical glitch. Nevertheless, so the extension of the following due dates again for June 30th, composition scheme. Under the GST law, there are some cases where hotels or small businesses can register for composition, and those people also the due dates were on March 31st. Those have been extended, and even your annual returns. For those more than 5 crore, mandatory audit also was there. For those less than 5 crore, it was optional for financial year 19-20. Even those stand extended to June 30th, 2020. However, this came up much before the COVID itself, but I just thought I will update you here. The next thing is on the corporate affairs. Ministry of Corporate Affairs. This has been an interesting case where they have come up with good number of relaxations. Now, what they've said here is no additional fee would be applicable for late filing of various forms which are there. So there would not be any late filing fee or a form which, for that from anywhere between April 1st to September 30th. That's a good initiative. The board meetings have been relaxed. The board meeting earlier, the requirement was once in 120 days, or the gap between two board meetings should not exceed 120 days. That also seems to have been relaxed. Deferment of applicability of CARO. There was an additional reporting requirement for auditors, and those finance professionals would be able to understand this. This is also stood extended. Independent directors, these are applicable only for a specific class of companies. They have to hold a separate meeting every year. It has to be a separate meeting where only independent directors are there. No, executive directors take place. That meeting, if they have not held within 31st March 2020, it is okay. They don't consider it as a violation. Next is this deposit reserve. For wherever they have deposits which are maturing, again every year 20% you'll have to create a reserve. That has been extended. Commencement of business had to be filed within 180 days every year. Now that also stands extended from the commencement of business. Every new company, the moment you start off your business, incorporated on let's presume on 1st of January, within 180 days you need to file the commencement of business. That has been extended by giving an additional 6 months. So effectively within 1 year they can file the commencement of business. There was also a requirement that a director should be resident in India for minimum of 182 days. There should be, every company should have a resident director who's been in India for 182 days. This provision has been relaxed because there could have been a possibility the director has gone abroad, and because of all these COVID-19 regulatory requirement, he is not permitted to come back to India or vice versa. He is here and he is not permitted to go there. So for that perspective, they have brought in this relaxation. This is something which I thought I'll spend a few minutes over here to explain. The company fresh start scheme. Now this is a new scheme which the MC has come up with, and under this scheme what happens is any company who is defaulted and have not filed their returns, any of the returns in the past, this is a time for you to regularize it from the 1st April to 30th September 2020. Likewise, even if you are an LLP who have not filed it, it is a time for you to regularize it. Prior to the scheme being introduced, if you had to regularize it, there was a penalty at the rate of 100 rupees per day. I repeat, 100 rupees per day. So assuming 5 returns was not filed and there was a delay of, generally company compulsory has to file 2 or 3 returns in a year compulsory. And assuming even these 2 returns have not been filed, correct? And if there is a delay of even 6 months, you can imagine what is the cost, correct? So the entire thing is being waived off. Only thing is after this entire filing is over, 6 months from that date, which is, September 30th is the time period they've given. After September 30th, they will give you a short time period within which you can file a form for immunity, and all the cases, everything which is there will be revoked. And one benefit over here is, you will not get any additional fee, immunity from prosecution. Only the cases which cannot file appeal over, under this particular scheme is if there is any case pending in the court of law, or if there's an appeal which has already been going on. In those cases, you cannot say, hey, you know what, I'll stop that and take the benefit. No, that benefit is not being given. What if I have filed my returns on March 30th paying additional fee? I'm sorry, we don't have an option for that. Okay. Now, this is one interesting thing which came up, for the CSR contribution side. And there has been a relaxation in the CSR definition. COVID-19 relief is also considered to be eligible as a CSR activity now. I repeat, COVID-19 is considered to be eligible as a CSR activity. Funds may be spent for various CSR initiatives, and contribution to the PM CARES fund would also be eligible for a CSR benefit. Please keep in mind, this contribution to PM CARES fund also gives you the income tax benefit under section 80G. And generally 80G has got two categories, which is basically 50% exemption, 100% exemption. PM CARE fund, you are eligible for 100% exemption. At the same time, my dear friends, there was also one more provision which said the donations which maximum a person could make, it should not exceed 10% of your gross total income. If you make the contribution to the PM CARES fund, the 10% criteria has been revoked. So that's a very, very welcome initiative, because earlier it was presumed that if I had how much ever I earned, maximum benefit the income tax used to give me if I contribute only 10%. Whereas now there are some people who have volunteered and come forward and given crores together money for the purpose of this COVID-19 relief. I think it's a very it's a good measure in which you can, give them this benefit. Next comes this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. This is a plan to the extent which is relevant for MSME is what I'm going to discuss. I'm not going to spend too much time into this. First, employees provident fund. Employees are permitted to withdraw some money from the PF fund, and this will be a non-refundable advance of 75% or 3 months of the wages, whichever is lower. Employees can withdraw to manage this cash flow crisis. The government has also decided or agreed that 24%, which is the 12% employer and 12% employee, that contribution, monthly wages of the PF money, the government has agreed to contribute it. Of course, we are waiting for the detailed notification. However, there's a catch over here. The catch is, if this is applicable for the next 3 months, and only for those people who are having less than 100 employees. And at the same time, 90% of such employees should be earning a wage less than 15,000 rupees per month. I repeat, this is applicable for the next 3 months. You have the benefit only if you have less than 100 workers, and not more than 90% of the workers are drawing the wage below 15,000 per month. But if you look into the PIB clarification or the press release, that word 90% has not been mentioned. However, the finance minister in her speech, she did mention that 90% is a criteria. So there seems to be some bit of ambiguity. Let us wait for a day or two by the time the PF department would clarify in this particular aspect. Next, coming to a very important section, which is the RBI related requirements. From an RBI angle, it is very important that we understand what have they done to bring in liquidity. Under that, the few things which they did, and which is a very, very welcome initiative, is that the repo rates have been reduced by 75 basis points. Now, in a layman's language, if I have to explain this, repo rate is the rate at which banks can borrow money from RBI, or RBI lends it to the bank typically. Correct? So this has come down to 4.4%. That means for bank, the cost of borrowing for them has become cheaper. At the same time, they have reduced the CRR by 100 basis point. From 4%, they brought it down to 3% for almost a year. Now this, their CRR in simple languages, the amount of money which every bank has to keep in liquid form, in the form of a reserve or with RBI, etc. So what happens over here is when I keep this in liquid form, when I use the liquid form, I'm basically RBI securities, etc. When I keep this cash reserve with the RBI earlier 4% of of the total demand and time liabilities. In simple language, you can just consider the deposits which the banks collect, which is a savings bank, FD, RD, etc. On that 3%, you had to keep it with the RBI. Now, earlier it was 4%, now it is 3%. That means you bring in that much more funds. So banks have got more money now, which would mean that they obviously want to give it in the form of loans so that they inject liquidity into the business. Next is a very important thing. They came up with a 3-month moratorium. A 3-month moratorium on payment of installment of term loans. Please keep in mind, for all those loans falling due between March 1st, 2020 to May 31st, 2020, you are eligible to avail this benefit. When you use the word term loans, there is a clarification which is required. You just wait for a couple of slides. I will help you out on that. Interest shall continue to accrue on the outstanding portion of the term loans. That will be there. How it will have an impact, just wait for a few more slides. I will make a mention. Interest on working capital. Many of them, they might not have taken term loan, but they could have also taken what is called as your working capital or your overdraft. Even in such cases, this benefit is being given, point number 1. And if they slip or if they fail to pay, you will not be classified as a non-performing asset. At the same time, the DP, drawing power calculations, has been relaxed. Earlier, just to give an example, if the bank had a provision that drawing power had to be calculated by current assets minus current liabilities. And what is current asset minus current liability? Your stock and debtors, reduce your various liabilities, or differential portion 75%, 80%, the banks used to give loan. Now the way the drawing power is calculated is given a relaxation. You need not consider your current liabilities, etc. The banks will notify. All these measures will not affect the credit history, so you need not worry, oh, my CIBIL scorecard will get impacted, my organization will get impacted. No, they've given you that relief. One very important initiative, this came I think a couple of days back. If you are an exporter had to realize the funds within 15 months. That is the benefit which they have given now. Earlier the law was 9 months. Now they are permitted to realize these funds within a span of 15 months. So that's yet another benefit which they have given from a RBI perspective. Now let's focus purely on the 3-month moratorium, how it could have an impact. The reason why I'm covering that a little more in detail is because many of them have questions on this, and many of them have different opinions on this. Let me try to clarify most of these questions. First, my EMI is due soon. Will the payment not be deducted from my account? Please note, RBI is just given a moratorium option. Individual banks have to allow the suspension, which means not every bank by default gives the waiver. Not every bank by default you are getting the benefit. So every bank has come up with a simple procedure. Please visit the bank's website. PSU or private bank or NBFC, all of them are applicable. Please visit them. They would have given a clarification. Should you wish to opt in, click the following information. So you enter the following information and you click submit, they will give you the benefit. Some banks have done it reverse. They have said that we are giving it for everybody. However, if you do not want to avail that, I repeat, if you do not want to avail that, in such a case only submit it. So go to the bank website and see whether it's a positive connotation or a negative connotation. You will be able to understand. Second, is this a waiver of EMI or a deferment? Many people think that, oh, 3 months I need not do anything. Please keep in mind it is a deferment, not waiver, which means earlier you had to pay, let us presume, as on March 1st, or let's take simplicity, April 1st, you had 30 installments outstanding, which was falling due on March, April, May, whatever. Now these 30 installments due will just get deferred. In other words, 3 months you need not do anything. Then 30 months calculation will start from the end of that 3 months. But please keep in mind, for those 3-month period, interest would still be charged, and the interest is proposed to get added to the principal. So basically this initiative is to give you some liquidity advantage, and that is the important criteria and not any other. Okay, so does moratorium cover both principal and interest? Yes, you are. So if it's your EMI based loan, you get the answer for that. Next, what kind of loans does this moratorium cover? They use the word term loans. Generally, term loans includes housing loan, sometimes even personal loans may be considered. Educational loan, yes. Your machinery, plant equipment, all of these which have a tenure of more than 1 year, the benefit is being given. Okay, so I think that's a very simple clarification. Does it cover credit cards? So if you read the RBI document, it doesn't make a mention of credit card. However, in the press release or in the media clarification, they've clarified that credit cards are also eligible. But please keep in mind, credit cards have a small challenge. The average rate of credit card outstanding or the credit card interest is 3 to 4% per month, which means 1 lakh rupees, 3 to 4% per month is 3,000 rupees. That's a good sum of money. So for credit cards, I would sincerely request you to rethink whether you want to choose that particular option. Okay, so will interest still accrue? I think I've answered this. You still have to pay the interest. Is it a compulsory moratorium? Again, depending upon the bank website, please go and visit that. Sometimes banks have also made a mention in the Twitter handle, etc. You might get a clarity. So again, it's a temporary crash relief. It is not a permanent scenario. Next is it recommended to opt it? As a financial advisor, if you ask me, I would make my answer in 2 different perspectives. First, please check how much is your interest or your EMI obligation for the 3 months. Assuming, just prepare a small calculation in a sheet of paper. Okay, every month I need to pay this. Calculate how much is your fixed expenditure which you are incurring. If you are a business, you have to invariably incur some salaries. Maybe rent you could consider deferring, but still there are definitely some amount you always have to incur. I'm talking about fixed expenditure which you have to incur. You don't have an option. For example, employee salary, courtesy expenses. What are the very important? Identify these both, put them into one bucket. On the other end, calculate your fixed cash inflow, not revenue, cash inflow. Compare both of this. See the weightage. If you believe that this cash flow, I repeat, if you believe that this cash inflow will stand even if I make my payment towards the loan as well as my fixed expenditure, my suggestion is you can still continue to go ahead and make use of the loan payment. Otherwise, please consider opting for the moratorium. A sincere advice, those of them under the salary class, if you are having a very good certainty that your salary is not going to be disturbed, I don't think it is advisable for you to go for a deferment of EMI. I've done one small calculation. This came up in one of the news channels. I just took an image of that. I thought it is wise to mention that. Now, if I go for moratorium, let's presume the outstanding term is 36 months. Okay, 3 months of moratorium. That means what happens? 36 plus 3, 39 months is basically what I have to pay. Of course, 3 months I don't pay, 39 months. But what happens? That 8.5% rate of interest, if I'm calculating, considering home loan as a benchmark, what happens is that 8.5% on the principal, if I get added, let's presume your EMI was 50,000 rupees per month. 50,000 into 3 months is how much? 1,50,000, correct? In that 50,000 per month, you will definitely have an interest portion. Those interest portion gets accumulated to the principal, and on that further you'll have to pay the interest. To some extent, there is a small component of compounding which may come here. So as a result of it, if you are having a 36 loan at 8.5%, you may have to pay 1 EMI extra. If you have just taken the loan, 240 months EMI, correct? 240 months EMI, you may probably land in paying 15 extra EMI. But please keep this in mind. One very important thing, this 15 EMI is spread over a point in time. That means you are paying in future. The money which you pay in future is going to be the same. The value of the money which you're going to pay in the future is going to come down. In other words, tomorrow's 100 rupees and today's 100 rupees, if I compare, today's 100 rupees is more valuable because of the component of inflation, interest, etc. So considering these, you can possibly plan whether should you go for moratorium or not. Okay. The other area which I want to make a mention is COVID-19 emergency credit line. Here what happens is this basically public sector banks have come forward. Some other private banks are also made an announcement. You can visit their websites to get an idea. It is providing an additional credit facility ranging from 10% or higher of the existing working capital limit. Some banks are giving you a flat amount, some they're basing out of your turnover, etc. So my suggestion is visit the bank's website. You will get an idea about COVID-19 emergency credit line. It is obviously not possible for me to cover what all each bank is offering, but the general principle what they're offering is this: you get an interest rate of 7.25% only. This moratorium period you have for 6 months, and a borrower can avail the sanction amount in one go and start installments only after 6 months, which is basically the moratorium which is being given. Okay, there is no additional security, no processing fee, etc. So that's a good advantage for you. But please don't take a huge amount of loan. Consider what is your fixed expenditure, which is unavoidable. Only for that I would probably suggest. Who is for whom is this eligible? MSME, corporates, business entity, retail borrowers. Credit lines are in force up to June 30th, so you still have time. You need not rush to the bank. Again, please keep in mind there is a lot of requirements for us to stay at home, social distancing, etc. have to be kept in mind. Please call up your relationship managers, call up the bank, try to visit their website, get information, and then immediately take a decision. Do not jump, oh, okay, fine, I have to go to the bank, and everybody lines up in front of the bank. Imagine what is the repercussions as well, correct? So we need to consider the current economic circumstance as well as the requirement for which the enforcement authorities have made a mention. So there are a lot of PSUs have come forward. This is the names of those things, PSUs which have come, who have given this initiative. This is one interesting option. Personal loans are also being given. Up to 20 times of your last drawn salary. Up to 2 lakh rupees, a personal loan can be given. Emergency personal pension loans are also being given. There are some other companies who are providing instant loans. That's also an option which you can consider. Loan Tap, PaySense, Kyocera, Money Tap, Early Salary, etc. These are all giving you certain credit facilities as well for individuals. Again, my sincere advice: please see whether the loan is it absolutely necessary. You are the best person to judge it, but please take a discretionary call based upon that. Let's move one step further. SIDBI, I think 2 days back or 1 day back, they came up with this very nice initiative. This is basically exclusively dedicated for small, MSMEs, where they have come up with, a certain sectors who are basically providing or, helping out facilities for all those fellows who are manufacturing equipment or gloves or masks, etc., which is going to help out the corona, fighting the corona pandemic. For those cases also this initiative has come up. You can acquire machine, you can ramp up your production, and this entire thing is being done online, and 100% funding is also possible. So these are all interesting things which has come up. So you can definitely consider opting for this. This is available in the SIDBI website. You can go and visit it. That was on the regulatory portion of it. I think I've spent a good amount of time, 40 odd minutes on this particular section. What I would do now is, how do I strategize my business, considering that we have a huge amount of time to spend at home? Maybe some of them are actually working from home. Some of them cannot work from home because of absence of machinery, absence of tools, etc. So how should we look into this particular scenario? So let's talk about a few strategies. First, not every business can do a typical work from home. If I'm talking about a manufacturing sector, it is just not possible. Maybe service sectors to some extent it is possible, correct? So what can you do over this? This is the time to upskill yourself and your staff, your employees, your colleagues. There are a lot of these online resources, material available, and these are available even at your mobile phone. For example, Skill India. It's a wonderful website. They have spoken about how you can move or upskill your staff, train them. And these are all very, very, very simple things. I just received one nice alert where there are good number of video-based lectures also available in this particular website, where you can go and enroll and you can be a beneficiary of that particular information. Second, after this, COVID-19 has come into play, businesses across the world are going through a disruption. Probably we are now entering into what is called as the post-corona age in a few months down. The biggest question is everybody will probably start looking into spending money more and more judiciously for some point in time. Now, this is where we have to, as business owners, identify different business models for each of our entities which we run. Can I optimize the plant and machinery which I have? For example, there has been a guidance which has been given by the Ministry of Health where textile industries can consider manufacturing masks. Look at this. You are a textile, you are manufacturing clothing, you are manufacturing apparel, screens, various things. Now you have an opportunity, A, to diversify business, and B, probably make use of your machinery for this particular purpose. Second, alcohol industries are now manufacturing sanitizers. Spare part industries are manufacturing ventilators. In other words, I just give you a few examples which I've read of. You know the best in the industry, correct? You can seriously consider, can there be alternate business models using your existing plant and machinery? Can I start looking into alternate business revenue? And that is going to become the order of the day. Probably, who knows, after this 3 to 4 months is over and when things are reasonably getting into normal, the business models are going to change. Everybody keep on talking when e-commerce came in, when technology came in, business models have changed. Probably this is the next level of business model change. You never know, right? Consider digitizing your business processes. When I use the word digitize, please do not think that digitization is a magic wand. The moment you click the button, everything will change. That happens only in movies, correct? In reality, it is a series of process which only you as an entrepreneur, you as a businessman, business stakeholder would be able to address it. And that is where, my dear friends, this is the time where you can start analyzing each and every process of your business. Is there an alternative step? Because all of us are experts in our business. We know how it works. In fact, if we were allowed to run the business every day, ignoring the various other facts which we do, probably we would be in a better position to run the business. So we know as business owners each and everything. Of course, we have delegated because you cannot go to every granular level. This is the time as business owners we have to spend time to analyze. Prepare a simple dashboard, prepare a simple take a paper, start penning down your thoughts. Where have my business gone wrong? What is it that I can improvise? What is the demand trends? When when we can analyze for the safety and well-being of our family, for our employees, we can definitely start looking into strategies how we can try to bring up new models of business. So digitize that. Next, this is a very interesting exercise. Benchmark your industry. I'm sure through CII there will be a lot of industry-specific initiatives which is going on. But please see how well please keep in mind, you are not the only person who is fighting this battle. The entire world is fighting. That's what is the message which our Honorable Prime Minister at 9 a.m. correct? So you have similar line of businesses, whether within India, whether across the world. Use technology to make friends. Unnecessarily we are spending too much time with WhatsApp, using social media, reading unwanted things, and only tension is going to build up. Forget that. No doubt it is necessary for you to keep yourself updated, but don't get into it too much. See whether you can benchmark your industry with global standards, learn from the best practices, focus on how best you can lower your fixed costs. Any business in the world, if they have to survive, they need to ensure they have to recover the fixed costs. Fixed cost could be rent, it could be salary, whatever it is, the best. Figure out how methods and strategies you can identify to reduce the fixed cost. It has also been proven time and again, insurance is a must. Many of the MSMEs do not think about insurance. Insurance has become must. Insurance policies also have loss or disruption of business covered within them. So these are times you can probably consider reading them. And these are all available in a click of your mobile phone. Need not visit anywhere outside. From your home itself, you can do all of this. Speak to your suppliers. Understand what are the problems. Speak to your vendors. Speak to your customers. Tell them or identify. I understand everybody may not be free. Just take 5-10 minutes. Speak to them how your industry is behaving, how it is going on, what is the future, what do you do. And you can manufacture more better products. If not, speak of September or October when you have to file your returns, correct? And you just give some haphazard clarification. Try spending, see whether you can finish your accounting for entire 9. Auditor can give this data available to him so that he can audit it, correct? And these are all possible with softwares like Tally, who's able to give you a remote working. All of this is definitely possible. And the last and the key involvement or the key mantra is cash has proven once again that it is the king. I might have huge amount of profit, but that is backed by a huge receivables. It is not going to make sense for me. Cash is the king. Involve into your daily financial involvement of you as a business person into your daily finance and cash flows is definitely a must. On that note, let's quickly look into some technology oriented tips, what you could possibly consider. So moving to the next part of the section, how you can start using technology. These are a host of apps which are available today. I would say 70 to 80% of these apps are available for free. You want to do video calling, video chat, discussion, official messages, storing, sharing. There are a good number of apps which are available. Please keep in mind these are generic apps. Then you have industry specific apps. And most of these companies are coming forward and giving you a free trial, free evaluation version. Please consider using them. You never know where you might get the benefit. Some companies have given the limited period offer or feature limitation. It's up to you to explore. For example, if you want to do a video calling, our entire meeting is going through GoToMeeting, correct? So similarly, there are so many other apps which is taking place. So why don't you try to explore them, see how best you can try to make use of it. Now, if you want to work, assuming you are not getting separate products, probably you want everything bundled together. This is another product which I came across, Zoho Remotely, who's offering this product free for until July 1st, 2020. This is another interesting thing. So many companies have come up with these sort of initiatives, and not to forget our own accounting software, which we have been using it, Tally. How can I configure Tally to enable a remote access? And that is possible. So instead of me showing it to you through various screens, etc., I thought, let me show it to you live itself, correct? So let's probably see how this Tally entire thing works. You have Tally located, your Tally data located either in the CA office or in the client location, which is basically your own office, correct? So this data is located in your office. Can I give access to that to my auditor, to my finance consultant or tax practitioner? That is possible by using Tally today. You need not think, oh sir, I have to transfer the entire data. No, the data still resides within the originally kept premises. It could be either your CA office only, or it could be the tax practitioner office, or it could be your own office. The data still resides there. But what moves out, I repeat, what moves out is you are enabling an access from your own Tally screen to access the data which is sitting in the remote location or the original location, correct? So therefore, this becomes all the more crucial. So let me spend a few minutes to show you a live demo, how this can be configured and what are the access control restrictions which are possible, and few reports and MIS which is typically possible. So I hope all of you are able to see my Tally screen. Vignesh, could you please confirm that?
Right now it's on live demo. I think it's, yeah, prerequisites. Yeah, the next slide is there.
It's clear. The Tally screen is on.
Tally screen is clear?
Yeah, here.
Okay, I will go ahead. So first and foremost, most of you are aware from an accounting perspective, this Tally software has been across India. It has had a significant impact. Many of the SME firms have been using this. Now, many of them opine that Tally can be used only in the office location, whereas the truth is that is not the case. Tally has a few features called as remote, which you can definitely use it. To use that, first, you need to go and ensure that you have a commercial version with you running. That is the first option. Okay. The first thing which you have to ensure is the serial number is there. A serial number is typically kept in place. And you have the TSS subscription. TSS stands for Tally Software Services Subscription. You should have a valid Tally software subscription first. Once you have that, go to the top corner what is called as the control center. Okay, click on the control center. You need to log in with your tally.net user ID. For those of you who do not know what a tally.net user ID is, scroll down over here. You will find this. In my case, my email ID appears here. So I enter that information. And of course, I need to enter my tally.net password. If you remember that, fantastic. If you're not able to remember, please press F5. You will be able to reset this. So I've entered this information. The moment I've done, I click on the profile and it will take you to this interesting dashboard. And there you have an option called as user management. Under this user management, if you click, you can create multiple users over here. Please keep in mind, these users are the people to whom you are giving the tally access. The moment you enter these people's username, I repeat, the moment you enter these people's username, for example, I am just entering abc@gmail.com. I am just telling that person give the access as yes and make the status as active. The moment I do this, my dear friend, email, I'm not hitting the submit button because I don't know whose email ID this is, but the moment I hit this, an email from Tally would go into their mailbox. Whose mailbox? The concerned person's mailbox. The moment it goes there, that will have the default, username will be the email ID, that will have the password. It will be probably a small, just like how you get any other password, AX, B, Y, etc. And that password you have to use to log in. So there are two parts of the story. The first part of the story is you creating the access. Second part of the story, they trying to access this. So here what you have done, you have only given them the user, or you have enabled the user ID. Once this is done, please choose the company to which you want to give them the access. So how do I choose that? Let us say I choose the company over here. I have some dummy company over here. Let us just try to do that. If you have seen that my company has a username and password, this is a mandatory requirement if you have to give tally.net remote access. If that is not there, please press Alt F3, which is company info. Go to alter. You have the company name. Please ensure this option, enable security control, is activated. All right. The moment you say yes, please choose the username and password. Please do not forget the password. If you forget the password, you cannot access Tally data. So please keep that in mind. Use Tally audit features. It is optional for you. I would suggest take yes. Disallow opening in educational mode. You can probably say, yes or no, depending on what you want, and just go ahead and finish this. So you have enabled a basic security into this. Please keep in mind, you have still not given access to that particular data. If you have to give access to that particular data, you need to again go to the, company info, and you have an option now called a security control. Under security control, you have something called users and passwords. Please click on users and passwords. Under that, you will have what is called as tally.net owner and auditor. These .nets are nothing but those who are going to access on the remote. So you can have three types of access: auditor, owner, and user. Earlier, you had only auditor and user. Today, I am using Tally Release 6.6, which is their latest release version. You can see it over here, Release 6.6. And through that, you can enable the automatic usage of, even the owner can actually see that. So I click on tally.net owner. I've used my ID and I've also chosen my colleague's ID. Please keep in mind here, password I need not enter because the password has already come to the person as a default password. The moment I choose this is one fantastic feature which Tally recently launched. If I remember right, probably in the beginning of March or slightly before that, you can view Tally using your web browser. I repeat, web browser meaning Chrome, Firefox, your Internet Explorer, whatever it is, whether it's on your mobile phone or laptop, it is possible. And for that, I just choose yes. Allow remote access has to be yes, and allow TDL files, this has to be yes. TDL files are basically, if you have done some customizations, you just enable them. The moment I've given them the access, I just end this and I am ready to go live on the remote. The only one other thing which I need to do is, in the extreme corner, you'll find an option called connect. Please click on the tab. The moment you see connect, here the file actually a C appears here. That means you are ready to go live. Now your user, who is the other person, he logs in from Tally. Okay, I'm opening one more version of Tally here. They, instead of choosing select company, I'm talking about the remote user. It could be your auditor, it could be your accountant, or it could be you yourself trying to access Tally. Click on remote user. Now here you will enter the colleague's email ID which you intend to have access. So I've chosen the colleague's email ID. I'm entering the credentials. The moment I do that, my dear friends, you will find this company over here, which is called, Krishna Traders, which is there. It appears as online. And my dear friends, you are accessing the entire company through remote. Can you find it over here? Now I cannot go to another system and show it to you, but what I can definitely do is I'm opening another instance of Tally and probably showing that. And I can pass voucher as I'm passing in that particular area. I can also do a lot of access restrictions, so that is also possible. Assuming I have to enable access restrictions, I come back over here. I go to this Alt F3. I go to the security control. You find types of security. I can choose Tally.net auditor, or I can choose Tally.net user, depending on what the person is. So the user is who? The user is Tally.net auditor. I've mentioned over here. I just changed that person's category, for instance, over here. So I can go here, Tally.net auditor. Instead of giving the features of owner, I am giving the features of clerk, for example. I just say yes. Let us see what happens. Okay, so let us see again what happens over here. I go select the company. The company is loading, and you will find that the options which I had earlier vis-a-vis the options which I have now is actually reduced. Okay, so in other words, I have the facility to decide what options I have to give and how I need to do, and this is the power of Tally remote. So let me just come back over here to give the entire access, so that for the sake of understanding we are clear with this. Please keep in mind, even if I pass any entries over here through a remote, the impact of that would not be stored in the remote computer, would be stored in the original system, that is wherever the data or the server is. Okay, so it's a very interesting feature which they have. And one more beautiful feature which they have, I'm not sure how many of them are aware, is this feature called as online report. So I've just logged in my colleague's name. I go click over here, you'll find that particular company report appearing here. Okay, please note, this is the web view. I repeat, this is the web view for us to actually go and view these questions. So I click on Sri Krishna Traders. The moment I click here, I can see a whole lot of reports, including the day book, balance sheet, P&L, etc. So you couldn't even imagine of a feature like this, because you always thought, if at all you are a business owner, you always have to go to your accountant and sort of get a position of the business. Whereas that is not the case here. Just all that you have to do is enable a access over here, and the moment you enable access over here, you just have to ensure your company is connected, and you can view any report anywhere across the globe. You can also choose the period for which you want to show. You can also download this, and you can do your analysis. Assuming I download this, these reports are available in the form of a PDF. So I hope this gives you a perspective how reports, MIS, and various things can be obtained. So should I need to go back, please click on change report, come back over here, choose whatever orders you want, whatever reports you want. Correct. So they give you, I think, about 20 or 50 odd basic reports, so you can get an access. You also have access to the control center. You can set your control center parameters. You can also look into your account management. Who are the accounts you have? Right. Your license management you can do. You can change your account admin. You can do some general configuration. All of these are possible. User creation. So whole lot of things are possible. You cannot pass data entry from web, but the purpose or the focus from a web perspective is to view the reports and not for passing the data entry. So that is the angle through which they came. So coming back to the presentation, I hope the presentation is clear. You're able to see that.
Yes,
Yes,
Mr. Narendran.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Okay. So now that I'm able to view this, I am moving further just to have a quick glance through, check whether you have the TSS. Suggested to upgrade to Tally release 6.6 and it is free of cost. Go to the control center, enter your credentials. Your username is nothing but the accounts ID which was showing over there. You go to user management, you create the user, the email goes to that person, then go to company info, security control, users and password, choose that person's email ID, you give what is the type of access, and my dear friends, you have the data. You can also view report online. You just have to go to Tally Solutions website, log in over there, and you get a host of these reports. So I hope this gives you a clarity in terms of what you can do from a remote working perspective. So if you remote working FAQs, how many TallyNet users can I have? If you have a single user license, you can have 1. If you're having multi-user, you can have 10. And if you're having a Tally server, 10 to 50. What is the recommended bandwidth? 1 Mbps is what Tally mentions. What are the overall access types you can give? .NET user will have only data entry access, whereas owner or .NET auditor will have most of the access. Should Tally always be on in the server end? Yes, Tally should compulsory be on, and it should always be connected. One place it should be on. How to set up Tally on VPN? VPN is not recommended from a Tally angle. They do not recommend establishing it on a virtual private. And if I'm using TDLs, TDLs is nothing but Tally customization. Some people have the purchase order customization, sales order customization, etc. You are permitted. Only thing in that option, please allow remote access to TDL as well. Do I have to migrate any data if I go to release 6.6? No, not required. What are the other options if I'm still not able to use remote and I have the data with me and I don't have the license? Tally has come up with this wonderful option, which is from I think it just came back a couple of days. The announcement just happened a couple of days back. Because of this, owing to this COVID-19, they have come up with a 30-day free pack, meaning full features you can use it for a period of 30 days. So that's a very good initiative which they have come up with. So you and your business could probably consider finishing off all your accounting, before you move post COVID scenario. Alternatively, you can use Windows Remote Desk, Zoho Assist, AnyDesk. I think TeamViewer, most of them are using that. If you're using a VPN, it involves some amount of cost. Maybe you should probably carefully consider it.
Right.
Okay. So having covered that, I think I have about 5 more minutes. I'll quickly walk you through about security considerations before I take the FAQs. So every organization will have to have a few security factors in mind before you put anything on live or work remote. Just like how the ministry is being saying that wash your hands regularly, please ensure that you change your passwords regularly. Please stay at home, break the chain of COVID, at the same time break the chain of fake news. These are all Government of India awareness initiative messages which I'm trying to take you through. If you inform your travel details to the concerned local authorities, it is good. Likewise, do not keep on posting whatever information you feel like on social media. Avoid unnecessary posting because it's only going to create unwanted ruckus. Just like how we maintain social distancing, I think we also need to maintain our distance with cyber criminals. If you get some untoward message, anything which happens, please ensure to double check the validity of the message. Lot of malware through mobile phone is being spread. So please be very, very careful. You can protect your device. Please ensure there's password. Please ensure there's antivirus, a paid antivirus preferably. These are all general security tips which I can probably make a mention. So a few tips from working from home. Implement a work routine if you are working from home, because there should be a clear demarcation. What is your work time and what is your home time? Speak and connect with your team regularly because you need to speak to them, converse with them, otherwise you lose the connect. Establish work-life boundaries. Ensure connectivity. Backup options are also there. Power failures could be there. Internet problems could be there. So probably see how best you can use the internet hotspot, etc. And as leaders, we need to be gearing up for this new way of managing remote work. So I think that's a critical challenge for us. So on that note, to give a quick summary, I think we should move on from the tradition, the so-called modern handshake which we are using, and go back to the good old namaste. Correct. So it's time for us to stay safe, stay protected. These are few other webinar options which we are considering. A few topics have been mentioned over here. Should you wish to, request any of these webinar options, feel free to message in that questions box or the comment box, so that the organizers can take up the next initiative. Either it could be on compliance, it could be on COVID-19 or digital strategies, etc. And I'm also giving you a few further reading materials so that you can all obviously prepare yourself. And on that note, thank you so much for being a patient audience, and I'll be happy to take questions from you.
Thank you, Mr. Narasimhan. That was really informative, detailed, extensive presentation you have given us. We'll take up questions now.
Sure.
I mean, apart from the poll which Mr. Narasimhan has already given, that webinars, options, or subjects we would like to take up in the coming weeks. But there are a lot of questions which members have already asked.
Gentlemen, I have one point. Vivek, I have got only one point.
Yes, yes. Mr. Arvind, yes, please.
I will take only 1 minute or less than that.
Sure. Let me introduce you to the audience again. Mr. Arvind, Mr. K.S. Arvind is Associate Vice President of Tally Solutions. Thank you for joining. Yes, Mr. Arvind, yeah.
It's just a point of suggestion from my experience. Normally, in today's busy schedule, accounting is one thing, or looking at numbers is one thing which businessmen keep it at the end, or they tend to outsource it, saying that business is me, accounting is someone else. Generally, if you have to define, accounting is the language in which business actually talks to you. So if you don't understand your business from the point of accounting, then you have not understood business. So this is one experience point which I wanted to share. Second thing is, the most important thing for a businessman to grow is free time. People think not being busy is out of fashion, but generally, sincerely, the most important thing for a businessman is to have some free time to think about his business, not from today's perspective, from future perspective. So having said this, today, every businessman in this country has got a lot of free time. And on top of it, Tally, as Mr. Narasimhan said, has given a 30-day full-fledged version free software to use as much as you want. So it is people say, no, I don't have to enter anything at home. There is no business. What will I do with Tally? While I accept that, the point is, as a business owner, whatever form of data you have, Tally may not be today's, maybe 15 days old, 10 days old. Just download a version of the free thing of Tally, put your data, and assume that you are spending 100% of your screen time. Spend 15 to 20% on Tally screen time. Try to understand your business from the perspective of accounting, numbers, and so on and so forth. I will guarantee you, if this happens, businessmen, by the end of doing all these things, will be a transformed, more authoritative, more powerful businessman when he walks into his regular business. So this is one point I wanted to say. Why you can use this for data entry also, but more as business owners, please take this free time. Please take the concept of accounting in Tally. Please use the free software and ensure that you start getting control of your business from the perspective of its accounting and numerical representation. This disciplined business will have disciplined accounting. A growth business will have disciplined accounting. If there is no disciplined accounting, business will not grow. If you find a business which is growing with no disciplined accounting, it is because of luck, and any day it might collapse. So my request is, spend time on your accounting, spend time on your numerical representation of business, not about data entry. Understand your business from numbers. Just spend some time on Tally screens. The moment you spend 2-3 hours, I will guarantee you the way you look at your business is completely different. So this is a simple point which I wanted to make. While Mr. Narasimhan has done a wonderful job, I thought of doing this small 2 cents from me for all the audience, Mr. Narasimhan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind. Thank you for the suggestion and the tip. Mr. Narasimhan, we have questions coming in from the members, over 10 questions, 15 questions actually. If you could spend maybe 15-20 minutes, if that's okay.
Sure, please go ahead.
First question from Mr. Ashok Sehgal. He is the MD for Frontier Technologies, based out of Gurgaon. He's also a co-chairman for the MSME Council. He's asking, for 20x salary loans, who will give the loan? What is interest rate? How does one establish the salary amount?
Okay, so this is at a broad level, this is what the RBI guideline says. Okay, so again, all of this are subject to the individual banks, which we are going to refer to. And generally, I think banks will follow not just the 20x of the last round salary, probably the average salary, and it would normally be the net salary and not the gross salary after all the deductions, etc. So banks would definitely consider But I think here the focus is to promote liquidity. No doubt there could be a risk from bank perspective, but I think the primary focus here is for liquidity angle. So I think from that angle, this probably will be 20x of your net pay is what I think would be the criteria which most of the banks will follow.
Right. Question from Mr. Chandra Mishra from Dua Associates. Yeah. He's asking, a lot of SMEs settle their accounts and receive outstanding payments in the last fortnight of March of each year. The lockdown posed a unique challenge for those SMEs who still transact banking through physical visits. Since financial year has not been extended, how do such SMEs ensure their PLN, PNL, and balance sheet does not get impacted?
So are you talking about settlement in terms of cash flows, or are you talking about settlement in terms of booking sales and expenses? So if you're talking about booking sales and expenses, I am sorry, because the period is over, we don't have an option. But if you're talking about cash flows, I think we still have time to settle that. So I'm not too clear on what your question is. Probably if you can drop a follow-up question, I think that will be better. Or maybe you can just enable the mic access to that person a little later once we have answered a few more questions.
Right. Mr. Nitesh Kumar is asking, could it be possible to get input credits to be occurred in the month from April 20, that's 2020 to June 2020 for set off against liability of March 2020?
Repeat that question.
Could it be possible to get input credits to be occurred in the month of April 2020 to June 2020 for set off against liability of March 2020?
Oh, that is going to be an interesting question. Yeah, I understood, because generally the rule is, I think the GSTR 2A, I think there is a simple rule that, not more than 20% of the credit which is lying in your GSTR 2A, you can take the credit. So your customers, if they have filed it late, so I'm not sure whether the GSTR 2A will have that impact, but I think it's a little early for us to answer this question, because even the department officers are actually working from home. So even they are not being able to provide a lot of clarificatory measures, but I think probably in some time CBDT will come up with FAQs and etc. CBDT and indirect tax boards.
Right. Mr. Srinivas Prasad is asking, okay, he responds to PPT, that's fine. Mr. Guha Basu, he's asking, is TDS payment due date remain same as 7th and 30th April?
Yeah, I clarified that due dates remain the same. Only thing is you are permitted to pay up to June 30th, but at a lower rate of interest. Earlier, I think you used to pay 1% to 1.5% for delay in TDS payment. Now you are paying only 0.75% per month. So that benefit they have given from a TDS angle. For GST, I think I clarified, for turnover up to 5 crores, you have a flexibility to pay up to June 30th. If your turnover is less than 5 crores, more than 5 crores, then you have a 9% interest per annum, which is again 0.75.
Okay, there was a similar question from Mr. Siddhartha. I think that answers your question as well. Mr. Kiran, Ms. Kiran Gondali is asking, will bank charge interest on interest for the moratorium period?
Yeah, I think I've clarified that. Yes, you will have that.
Right. A question from Mr. Nitesh Kumar again. As the number of EMIs is to be extended, if we avail the benefit of moratorium, then the interest rate for this period will be charged then with the same rate of interest or with reduced rate of interest, if any. Please suggest.
As we speak now, it is the same rate of interest. They have not given a clarification whether reduced rate of interest would be applicable. However, reduced rate of interest would be applicable for fresh loan, which is that add-on or top-up loan which we have told.
Follow-up question from him. As NCLT has raised the threshold limit for filing case, then if a case is initiated earlier and the amount is out of revised threshold limit given thereunder under the previous case, will be settled automatically or would it be continued?
So I think when you refer to NCLT, I think you're talking, I'm not sure if you're talking about insolvency law. Insolvency law, I think there is made, they've enhanced one of the provisions for up to 1 crore as the limit. And again, the time limit over there for insolvency law, everything is stood extended, I think up to June 30th in a good number of cases.
Right. Mr. Vipin Malik, he's a member company based out of Madhya Pradesh in process engineers. How do we extend work from home on SAP R3 to key users in the company? How do we manage company server presently located in headquarters of the company?
Okay.
Work from
Okay.
home. Yeah.
So SAP R3 has a flexibility. So again, there are two options here. One simple option is just enabling a VPN. You should have your firewall on the other end, wherever your server is. There you should have a VPN connectivity and a remote working connectivity. That's option one. Option number two is SAP itself has a detailed guideline on how remote working is possible for R3 and other users. I would suggest you to go through it because it will become too technical to discuss this on the webinar. But I suggest that is a good basis for you to get started.
Okay. The follow-up question from Mr. Chandra Mishra from Dua Associates, he had asked, my question was related to cash flows. If the accounting is on receipt basis and if it is on accrual basis, the books will have to be closed on March 31st. How
right,
will an
SME? You are right. You are definitely right. So okay, now I think I got the question which you're asking. So if I understood right, you're asking more. Normally, all the settlements happen in the month of March. So now these settlements may be happening a little later. So you're absolutely right. You may be booking a lower expense or a higher profit. I don't know, depending on what your scenario is. You might be booking a higher profit or loss for financial year 1920 because of this. Because you're following the receipt basis of accounting. That's always a catch.
Right.
But only thing I would suggest, in case you're availing credit facilities, clearly communicate this to your bankers, etc. Because of these reasons, there has been a dip or fall, and I follow receipt basis. Because generally, bankers will presume. Generally, it has already been informed to the bankers and the credit stakeholders that you should give some amount of lenience considering COVID-19. But I think you can definitely communicate.
Right. Question from Mr. Arjab Das. Can we get a clarification once more on GSTR filing extension for SMEs having turnover more than 5 crore and covered credit facilities for MSMEs? Okay,
I'll just give it in a quick summary. GSTR filing, typically your 3B is where you have to file and you make your tax payment, correct? Your output tax, whatever liability is there, after setting off against your input tax. First point, please keep in mind, if your turnover is less than 5 crore, need not worry, up to June 30th, you have an option. If you have cash flows, please go ahead and pay it. Again, an option is being given. If your turnover is more than 5 crore and you are still not able to pay within the due date, here again, they've extended the due date by 15 days. Okay, if your due date was 20th, 15 days has been given. Even after those 15 days, you are not able to file, then interest at the rate of 9% you have to pay, 9% per annum. Okay, so 9% is the reduced rate. I think the act speaks about 12%. So here 9% is the reduced rate. The benefit given for people who are less than 5 crore, no interest at all. More than 5 crore, this is the benefit. From a GST payment angle, only this is the return which will attract payment. The rest all is your GST1, other information. And since you said more than 5 crore, I don't think composition will come there. So I'm keeping that out of the question.
Right. Mr. Manish Shah is asking, will RBI charge for late filing of ECB return?
I think they've given a clarification saying that there's going to be an extension for a few of the returns. I'm not sure whether ECB covers in that. I can probably check and come back. You can drop me a mail. I can probably check and come back.
Right. A question from Mr. Agarwal with Ritwaj Agarwal. He's asking follow-up regarding the insolvency query. Cases filed before the change of law, will they now be dismissed if the amount was less than 1 crore?
I don't think the previous cases will have an impact, but the hearing date may have an impact.
Okay. Another question from him. PF contribution by government. If a company has two separate PF registrations, two different PF codes in separate states, each having less than 100 employees, but cumulatively the two locations have more than 100 employees, then will they get the benefit?
I don't have an answer because I'm waiting for a clarification from the PF ministry on this entire scheme. In the EPFO website also, there's not been any clarification. I think they would provide it. See, because everything has come at one shot, so it is obviously difficult. A lot of people are there. I would just suggest you watch for the PF Ministry's website. You will get an idea. I understand you may have 2-3 business lines, but I think let's wait for the clarification. Whether they give it per PAN based or per entity or per establishment per unit, we are not sure as we speak now.
Right. Now I think some Tally questions as well. Is Mr. Sehgal is asking, in Tally remote access, can the report be generated only in PDF, or is Excel downloaded also possible for further analysis?
Let me clarify. If you are referring to Tally report on remote, there are two possibilities: on the web using the Tally app. If you are on the web, it can be downloaded only through PDF. Whatever we just saw on the screen, right? It is only through PDF. If you are using a Tally application itself and logging in remote, the application could be in educational mode also, it doesn't matter. You can export it in Excel.
Right. Mr. Bipin Panchal is asking, do remote Tally work on service with licensed Tally and on client end without license? Okay.
When you say without license, I'm presuming you're referring to educational mode. So there are two scenarios over here. The server or wherever the data originally is sitting, that particular system should have the Tally license, which is with a valid TSS subscription. The person who is using it could be your remote worker or it could be your auditor office, etc. Even if they have educational mode, you can work. So educational mode is that whatever you referred, not that you don't have a valid license, etc.
Okay. Mr. Sanjeev Rai Mahajan is asking, did you say that remote web user can't enter data or transactions?
If you're using through the web, you can't enter any data. It is only for viewing purpose. However, if you still want to enter data, you have to download Tally application and follow the procedure which I showed you by logging into tally.net. So just like how you log into any Tally data, you have to do it from a remote location. Download Tally. Instead of selecting the company at the first screen, first to choose login as remote user, enter username, password. You will have the name of the company appearing. Then you can do the data entry. But if you go to the web, tallysolutions.com website and go log in there, only viewing reports is possible.
Right. Question from Guvinder Luthra. Tally for iOS, when can we expect for iOS?
For iOS, okay. I think Arvind can answer that.
Mr. Arvind?
As of now, we don't have any dates for that. There are other priorities, especially with the things going around. The priority is now to ensure that people can work from anywhere. So that is one thing which is going on. And very soon we should be coming out with an iOS. So I don't have a date, but definitely it is a part of our product roadmap.
Right. One last question from Mr. Jitendra Kumar, that's back to regulations. Is any extension given by EPFO for payment of contribution for the month of March 2020?
Officially not yet out. I'm presuming
Right.
there would be an extension, but officially as we speak, it has not yet been announced.
Right. Thank you so much. There are some more questions coming in, but we'll have to close it up. Taken about 15-20 minutes of question and answers, and there are some questions based on sharing of presentation and all. Dear all, I would like to tell you that we will be putting this recording on www.ciitechsaksham.in. That is our project website. You can always log in there. Maybe in a day's time we'll try to put that in, and many can access that recording as well. You may like to share it with other colleagues or other members as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, CA Narasimhan Langovan and also Mr. Arvind for helping us through with this wonderful presentation and also the webinar. On behalf of all the CI members, on behalf of the CI National MSME Council, I'd like to thank you for this time.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we are closing the session. For any clarifications, you can always drop us an email. You have emails of the organizers with you. You can drop us an email for any other detail. You can log on to ciistechsaksham.in. That's the project website, and you can find more information there. Thank you so much. We will be updating you on the next set of webinars as well. And there were some questions or subjects which Ms. Narasimhan had also asked whether we'd like to conduct webinars on those subjects. We'll share those subjects with you. Maybe you'd like to give us a poll or a vote on which all topics you are interested in, and we'll give you more information on that. Thank you so much for coming in. We have a tremendous response today. We had over 90 participants, and thank you for the wonderful response. Goodbye as of now. You may like to log out from your system. Thank you.